Hey everybody! Happy Saturday night! How's the sound? Is it okay? I hope it's okay. Hey everybody! Stitch and Deb and OK Proud! And Jill! And Kenny and Charles. Gamer Granny's here! And Patty Okra. Welcome back, Patty Okra. I almost said Patty Gamer. I don't know. There's that champagne cork. I hope you're doing well. Jan Makes Stuff is here. Miscellany, Robin's Nest, Padma, now Molly Squared. I was just kind of scrolling through the chat just a little bit before I went live. It's movie night. It's so movie night. Hey, Ensu John. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Pemberito. Everybody's here. Mother Nature, Castle Grips. Molly, what's going on? I was scrolling here. Scrawling? I missed something. Quilting politic. Your heart is tired. Quack Cat. What's going on? Patty Okra, definitely not a gamer. Susan R. Michael is here. Yes. Happy Saturday. Sound is great. Excellent. But there's something going on. Something. I do want to know. Saucy Stitcher. Hello. See, I can say hello to people while I'm. Oh no. There was another shooting, a racist mass shooting in Buffalo. I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm glad we're together, you know? Let's make goodness. Let's make goodness tonight, because that's evil. I think it's pretty easy to say that, right? I mean, it's a pretty obvious fact, right? That's an evil thing to do. So let's not be that way, right? And sort of put some good energy out into the world. It's interesting. The quilt I picked tonight is a good choice then for that upon hearing that news. It's terrible. I don't know. I'll read about it. I've been away from the computer, well, part of the day. Because I had a gig today, and what I hope is that some of my friends from Canada will join us this evening. I had a gig. I don't know why it seems like I used to gig at poetry slams, you know, and I gigged as a performance artist. I did. I made money as a performance artist and a poet. Don't tell your poet child that, because it's rare. It doesn't happen that often. But I would do gigs, and somehow calling the talks that I give or the presentations that I am booked to give for quilt guilds, calling them gigs sometimes feels weird. I mean, I don't want to downplay the importance or the coolness of gigs, but I don't know, sometimes I'm like, I got a quilt gig. I don't know, maybe it makes us cooler. I'm not sure. But hopefully some folks are here tonight. And I know, I think Darla, if you're here, that's great. I'm glad. And if you're new, a lot of you will be new to this platform. You'll get the hang of it real quick. And I hope that you enjoy the show. And we've got the people here. Let me just tell you something. Hang on. I'm just going to cut the music. And I'm going to tell you that the people who have tuned into this show, who have, you know, been with me since the beginning, hasn't even been a year yet that I've been doing this, they're really cool. They're very cool people, and I know because I spend time with them on this show, and then also in the Discord. We have this cool sort of clubhouse where we hang out when we're not online on the show, and they're really interesting people. They're I mean, we have a firefighter, an undertaker, retired folks who are doing extraordinary things. We have young moms, and we have a very smart librarian, Molly. We have guys. We love our guys, and we have, we've got these wonderful people, and they're all pretty nerdy. I mean, to spend Saturday night, you know, talking about quilts and stuff, it's pretty nerdy, but we like it. And so I hope if this is the first time that you've tuned in, you'll come around. And I know Patty Okra, she's new. I hope I didn't make you feel uncomfortable about that, but you're new and you keep coming around. You're one of our new recruits. to Quilt Church, our new congregants. For a minute, this show was called Quilt Church because it feels like church for quilts. We come, we commune with each other, we have community, we spend time, we pay homage, whatever. We don't worship things, but we do enjoy. And we do it together, and it's really, really fun. Saucy Stitcher, this is a safe and happy place. Thank you. That is exactly right. I just played the Quilt Church sound effect, but I'm playing it again for that very reason. And Nunmaker, it's so good to see you. And Ivy Kadivy, it is exciting I can do gigs. I mean, it's amazing. I've been gigging my whole life. That is for sure. I've been kicking it live since 2005 is what I like to say as a freelancer. SJ Pepper. Wait, I got to get the music back on. Now, if you're new, you'll find out soon that SJ Pepper is she's a saucy one. But you know what, Bonnie? We got a couple Bonnies. The Bonnies are saucy too. You better watch out, SJ. They're coming for your crown. They're going to snatch your wig. Just kidding. That's an expression. Anyway. Myra. What's going on with Myra? You just got home from buying more fabric? Good job. Part of the fun of this show is the soundboard. You'll see. But anybody who's new, welcome. And I hope you'll stick around and have a good time. And SJ Pepper, you're at Joshua Tree? Are you at Joshua Tree? Good heavens. That's cool. Anyway. So here's how it goes. We do this little chit chat, to start. And by the way, for people might have noticed, some of you might have noticed, there's a change I'm implementing. Well, one of the changes is I'm not going to keep telling you about all that I'm doing on the other side of the show. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna take the training wheels off, okay, of the show, so you don't have to hear about all my back end plans. But I will tell you, of course, about changes to the format. And one of the changes I'm going to make is usually I go live right at the hour where the show begins, right? When the show begins. And then I give you all 10 minutes to come in and chat and all that before I go on. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live at about 5 till and the hour, and then give it about 5 minutes for people to get the notifications on their phone, to remember that it's Quilt Nerd time, and then go live at about 5 after. I mean, it'd be nice to me because it's been a while that I've known I'm going to go live 10 after. But I think that's good. I mean, we may not need 10 minutes, after the hour, and I want to get to the goods. I want to get to the good stuff. So you'll get a notification about 5 till, and then I'll come on like this. It's very warm in this office. I think they turn off the air conditioning on the weekend. So I will be glistening. Some people pay good money for that shine. It's called highlighter. That's what it's called. Bonnie Kane. Quilt stores. Oh, you're talking about quilt shops. Hey, listen, I know there's a lot to say. Quilt Nerd is a seamless production except for all the quilts. Oh! Susan, right now you're in the lead. I'm going to put it on my quilt content plan. Susan, A+ for the puns. Okay, so tonight is movie night. We haven't done a movie night in a long time. I mean, a really long time. We watched a couple really short little things a few weeks ago when I was up at the lake house. But we're gonna watch like film strip films tonight. That's right. I have my popcorn. I think the green screen will render it invisible. It's true. Super weird. I also have crisps. I'm a chip girl. Well, I'm a popcorn girl too. But I have to have popcorn, because it's movie night. But the first thing that we do before we usually look at things, and I read things, and it's all quilt related, and we are going to look at a Canadian related thing tonight. So anybody who's here from Canada, this is your night. And I didn't know that it would be what it is. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Just hang on, because something very weird happened. Weird like this. Yeah. Twilight Zone music, because weird things happen on this show, wonderful coincidences, and it's part of the show at this point that weird things happen. You'll see what I mean. But we start every show with a quilt, a new quilt behind me. The power of the green screen allows me to put a quilt behind me, and this is the quilt Tonight, what quilt could it be? Let me get small so you can see the whole thing. Help, I'm small. So I hope that you'll join the chat, by the way. Hey, Lillianne, thank you for subscribing with Prime. You've subscribed for 4 months. You're on a 4-month streak. Yeah, the suspense music on top of the ragtime. I know. Let me try that again. Yeah, it was kind of weird. So thank you for subscribing. And by the way, everybody, Dee Marie, hello. Yes, have a big cup of ice on hand. The summer is going to be hot. It's true. If you are an Amazon Prime member, you can subscribe to this show for free. This is the little ad. Station identification. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get a free Twitch subscription every month because Amazon owns Prime and Jeff Bezos wants you to be here. So you can do that. You can choose the Quilt Nerd, the Mary Fons Twitch channel for your free subscription. You have to renew every month, like manually, so don't let your subscription lapse. But yeah, and then if you subscribe, you don't have to watch ads. People who aren't subscribed have to deal with ad breaks. I don't control them, but they happen. And you can also be invited to our Discord, which is that clubhouse I mentioned. It's basically, I mean, if you know the Discord servers, I mean, I think it's more common than not at this point. It's just, it's like an app. It's an app. We all get to hang out, and there's a Quilt Nerd server. Anyway, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's really fun. Okay. And anybody who's on it can tell people, like, it's fun. So if you subscribe, you get to be invited to that. You don't have to watch ads, and you support the show. And that makes me feel good. Okay. So what is this quilt? Well, I was thinking about the grads. Hey, Mother Nature knows. Mother Nature knows. So Mother Nature knows that this is a quilt that has a sorority connection. And I was thinking about all those grads. You know what? All the grads. Way to go. Way to go. Hey, a Nunmaker subscribed with their Prime account. You've subscribed for 7 months, a Nunmaker. You're on a 7-month streak. I appreciate you. I genuinely appreciate you. All my subscribers and the mods who help out in the chat. Everybody, really appreciate you. I also appreciate you, Susanna. You'll learn more later. Help, I'm small. Yeah, there's a bingo card. Exactly. A hype train is close. If people, subscribe or gift a sub or cheer with bits, all these fun things we get to do on Twitch. There's lots of fun things. We'll have a hype train. Theodore is here. I'm so glad. Theodore is just dropping in to say hi. Your daughter's master degree commencement. Oh my, what? This is what I'm talking about. I hope there are people here for the first time because they're like, okay, weird. Yeah, okay, there's this show, we're talking, get to the quilts and we will. That's what I'm talking about. I have a college associated quilt and here one of our friends, hey Dana, one of our friends is at a commencement. I'm just saying. Happens all the time. So this is, thanks, Pemberito, thank you. This is a quilt that was made in 2000, okay? And it is, let me get to this, okay? So I can, we did it. We did a hype train. Thanks, everybody. Do you feel the hype? I do. It's a great show. We do it together. So this is from, made in 2000. Here's the description. So it's kept at the Smithsonian at the Museum of African American History. So here, I'm going to zoom in here. This is a Delta Sigma Theta associated quilt, okay? And Delta Sigma Theta, thanks Dana and Robin. I love all these cheers. See, we get to see confetti and stuff. Anytime you can see confetti, it's a good Saturday night. So Delta Sigma, Delta Sigma Theta sorority is a historically African American sorority. The organization was founded by college-educated women dedicated to public service with an emphasis on programs that assist African American community. And by the way, I went to the website, and can I just show you? Here's the logo. Awesome. But look at these. They have these portraits of the founders. Like, they are so beautiful. This is Myra Davis Hemings, which is interesting. I mean, one does think of Sally Hemings, right? Very, significant African-American woman in American history. I don't know. Osceola McCarthy. But there are these wonderful paintings of some of these women. So I just pulled a few because, I mean, obviously. Anyway, so back to the quilt. So it says that Delta Sigma Theta was founded on January 13th, 1913 by 22 women at Howard University. Mother Nature called it, you know. Membership is open to any woman who meets the requirements, regardless of race, religion, or nationality. Did not know it. That's something else about this show. It's not a lecture. It's not a presentation. It's an exploration. I find the stuff. I print off the stuff. I read it with you. We learn together. Last week, or on Tuesday, I discovered with you that we were looking at a quilt that Napoleon Bonaparte and his girl, his shorty, Josephine, used on their bed. Yeah. I didn't know it when I put it in the show, and I freaked out. It was really fun. Okay. Women may join through undergraduate chapters at a college or university, or through an alumni chapter after earning a college degree. Oh, really? Excuse me, hang on. Women may join through an undergraduate chapter at a college or university, or through an alumni chapter after earning a college degree. Interesting. Just a little bit more about this, and then I'll tell you more about the quilt, at least what I can find from the Smithsonian record. One of the largest sororities founded in the U.S., Delta Sigma Theta. More than 350,000 initiated members are college-educated women. The sorority has over 1,000 chapters located in the Bahamas, Bermuda, Canada, England, Germany, Jamaica, Japan, West Africa, South Korea, and the United States. It's also a member of the umbrella organization National Pan-Hellenic Council, NPHC, an organization of 9 international Black Greek letter sororities and fraternities. Did I just see Marianne? Marianne Fons! Mom, you're there. My mom is here. Oh, yeah. Mom, hi. You know what? Can I put you on the spot? I'm going to put you on the spot. Mom is going to be in town. Hey, Pam. Mom's going to be in town that Memorial Day weekend. Mom? Here, I'll put you on the spot to something that is fair. Faith, people love it when you're on the show. You know why Faith Quilts cheered just now, Mom? Because she wants to show her support of when you come on the show. So you're going to be in town Memorial Day weekend. I won't put you on the spot and be like, will you be on the show? But I will ask you, will you look at your schedule with me and figure out when you can be on the show? No. Yeah, it's true. We love you. So see, Pam wants it and I want it too, because it's really fun when you're on the show. So if we could figure that out, that would be amazing. Anyway, so my mom's in the show. She shows up here and there. I'm so glad you're here, Mom. I'm so glad. It's such a nice surprise. So this quilt is in, just to here, okay, so it's 56 by 56 inches, smaller than what I thought. And here's the description from the Smithsonian. A large, square-shaped red and white fabric quilt presented by the Allentown, Chester, and Valley Forge alumni chapters, alumna chapter, why can't I say that word? Eastern region of Delta Sigma Theta sorority to Dr. Bertha Maxwell Roddy. At the center of the quilt is the Delta Sigma Theta crest with a diamond-shaped red fabric inset. In the other upper left-hand corner, there's a red thread, Myra, dedication to Bertha Maxwell Roddy. It doesn't say who that is. Could someone look it up, please? You'll get the Nerd Award, the first one. Hey, we did another hype train? Really? It's because Mom, it's because you're here. Yes, exactly. What I think my mom, Molly loves it too, Mom. I think, what is your potluck dish, Mom, for Memorial Day? There's a thread, up in the upper right, there's a logo for Habitat for Humanity, which my mother was very involved with for some years. And the lower left is a gold figure, and also the right figure is celebrating the 80th anniversary of the sorority. So anyway, so that's it. This is to all the grads out there. This is to all our quilt people of every race, color, religion, style, modern quilters, traditional quilters. Everybody's welcome here. gender, you know, male, female, friends beyond the binary. I don't care. I don't care. If you're into quilts, you're welcome here. Just, you know, stick around. You're going to find lots of stuff. Grover, I'm so glad. And your daughter, Mom, did you know Grover is Anne Hamill? Yeah, and her daughter, and we love her. Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. It's movie night. Get your popcorn, get your wine. Do I have any? Come on. I do. So we're gonna watch movies. They're incredible. They're all from the past. One is 1 minute long, and it is from like, well, you'll have to help me. It's like 1950. I don't know. It's crazy. Then we've got the one from Kentucky, which I teased last week, from 1971. And then I found this other one, and that's where the Canadians need to stay tuned because, well, it's just wild. It's just wild. Okay, all are welcome. Thank you, Charles, aka Felt Like Sweets. Okay. Oh, one other really quick thing. This is the weirdest quilt style shot I've ever seen. Do we like it? Do we not? Are we feeling like it's a this? Or do we feel like it's a this? I mean, I don't know. I kind of like it. It's very artsy. This is, I found that very randomly, you know, I have a big folder of fascination where I put all these weird things that I find, you know, and this is a quilt by Sophie Van Aelbroek. It was made in 2020. It's called Quilt Number 4. It's for sale on Cherish, that website, you know, Cherish. Lillian likes it. Hey, Lillian. Lillian likes it, but it is a little ominous. It is a little ominous. Crime scene. Pem says crime scene. Not into it. My mother says I do not like it. Okay, I do not like it. Grover is celebrating graduation, 8th grade for your grandson. Congratulations. High school next year. High school next year. That's a big deal. That's a big, big deal. SJ says, is it on the floor or on the wall? We don't really know. The person does look suspended. Mother Nature says, Bertha was a DST and chair of the alumni. Oh, yes. Thank you. So Bertha, hang on now. Someone else might have put the information in there, but I was just going on. So Bertha Maxwell Roddy, Dr. Bertha Maxwell Roddy, says Mother Nature, was a DST and chair of the alumna chapter in North Carolina and 20th president. She worked with Habitat and was involved in building more than 350 houses. So she was the recipient of the quilt that we saw. I love it. Thank you for that. And you get the graduate award. That's not special for tonight. It's always a little too long, but that is the nerd award. When you get really nerdy and you look up something that we're wondering about, you know, or you just know, you're like, oh, that's a chintz quilt from, England, 1790, you know. You get the little graduation cap and gown song on the soundboard, and it's very, very appropriate tonight. Is it really patchwork? I think these are mass-produced quilts. Anyway, okay. Back to what we were going to do. Okay, you ready for this? I do have announcements, but we'll talk about that later. The schedule next week is different and fun because I'm going to the International Quilt Museum in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm going to be live streaming events from the gala celebration for the 25th anniversary of the museum, and I'm going to be taking you with me. That's right. Quilt Nerd is on the road. And I can't wait to tell you about it. But we're going to do that at the break because let's get into some of this video. So this is a 1 minute and 6 second video. Oh yeah, it's going to be great. Mother Nature is going to be so good. Pomp and circumstance, Gamer Granny, I'm telling you. It's going to be really fun. You didn't read ahead. Pen Burrito. So this is one of 3 films, okay, tonight. One of the films, this one's 1 minute. The other film is 18 minutes. And the other film is 27 minutes. So it's movie night, you know, and we're gonna dive in. And I'm not gonna speed it up, you know. I'm not gonna speed up the stuff. We can do that. Sometimes we do that if something's really long. But we're digging in. It's Saturday night. Let's watch some films. And like I said, they're all old. So this one doesn't have sound. This one is from, as you can see. Oh, wait. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave the chat up. I know I could do, I got to do this. Yeah. I'm going to leave the chat up. I think it'll be fine. If it really feels like it's in the way, we can hide the chat. But I think that's going to be really fun because watching films is fun. SJ Pepper came for the Kentucky video. With good reason. So this doesn't have sound. It's 1 minute long, and I'm just going to play it. It needs no introduction. I would love for somebody to, well, for you all to try to guess when this was made. It doesn't say so. Let's just play it, okay? Let's just play it. No sound. Remember, there's no sound on this, so you're not missing that. Wait. Hang on. I got to make sure that I don't have it sped up. Normal. Okay, good. Okay. All right, here we go. She's cooking. She's making something. Chicken. I thought that was the quilt, to be honest, at first. I was like, no, what are you doing? You don't have to put it. Okay. Cooking, yes. Corning ware or fiesta ware or something. Okay, look. There she is. She's got her quilt and she's wearing a suit. Crockery. Exactly, Susan Armichael. Crockery. You feel in the dark. The chat will be fine. Okay, here we go. Susan, you got to find some whiskey. Okay. I love the suit. I love it. Look, she's caressing it, her quilt. She's caressing it. She's deep in thought about it. Love the manicure. I'm into it. I wish I had this whole thing. It's a little, okay, what's going on? It's very languid. Look at her. Look at this. Obviously, I'm pausing it. She's so made up. Sitting at home. Okay. Again, there's no sound. I'm providing the sound. Aren't you glad? Here comes the daughter. She's excited. She's got her little bobby socks on. Oh, they want to look at the quilt. Oh, her daughter's so excited. What are they doing? I don't know. Oh, and then dad's home. Now what? Is he a soldier? Is that no, what is he wearing? What's going on? Didn't they have sweatpants? L. Riggs, didn't they have sweatpants in the 50s? You know, I have to tell you that my friend Azuri, she and her partner Trevor call them hard pants and soft pants. She's like, now that the pandemic is like, well, we know it's not over and it's crazy, but she's like, yeah, since we've been out more, you know, I've had to put on my hard pants. She's like, I really like my soft pants. And Eric and I call them inside pants and outside pants. Okay, anyway. So I don't know what's going on with I don't know. I can't tell. Okay, so is that a fur coat? Okay, all right. Look, waste not, want not. And that is the clip. That's it. That's all it is. He's just home from the French Foreign Legion. Mom! Hilarious. Good one, Mom. Very good. I think that's the first time you ever got the siren. The siren's basically when people are cheeky, and I love it. So that's it. That's that one. Okay. Oh, this is so weird. Okay, let me go to the next. This is the next one. Okay, here's Kentucky. Now, okay, so this is... Never mind that man. It's a long story. He does a live stream that I love. I've talked about him before. Anyway, so this is the Kentucky Heritage Traditional Quilting in Kentucky video, 1971. Let's watch it next because I did tease it, but I just want to let you know that the other video is Patterns of Love, quilting documentary with Joyce Weiland from 1980. If you were at the gig today, if you're visiting from Canada, you know that is very weird. Because I talked about Joyce Weiland today at my presentation, and I didn't know about this until I don't know, around 4 o'clock or something, an hour or two after I spoke with you all. I spoke to you about Joyce Weiland, or I mentioned her, and then I'm getting the things together for the show, and I find this film, and Joyce Weiland is in it. Isn't that weird? Isn't it wonderful? I think it's pretty wonderful. Quirt quilts. Oh, that's a great question. I'm gonna highlight that, quirt quilts, so as people are watching this film, and or the Kentucky film, and if their eyes are glazing over, you can talk to Quirt Quilts about this. Quirt Quilt says, anyone else get quilting fatigue after finishing an ambitious project? I switched to oil painting for now, but I still love Quilt Nerd. Hopefully will resume quilting by fall. My mother may have something to share with you about that. Mark Mark Wesley, I'm so glad you're here. This is great. You get a champagne cork. Pop. You were helping your daughter make strawberry rhubarb pie. You were the mixer and the cutter. I'm still with you, Mary Fons. God bless, Mark. I appreciate you. I really appreciate you, and I'm glad you're here. So here's this film, Kentucky. It's 28 minutes and 57 seconds. So get your popcorn. I'll be doing my commentary as we watch, because we want to make sure that, you know, we're doing transformative content and we don't get copyright struck. But also, I know you just really want me to interrupt the film, right? That's what this is. You know, I'm going to read the chat. We're just going to watch this. So this was made in 1971. Okay, and what does it say? So it's got 17,000 views. Wish we could all be so lucky. So this is from the WKU archives. Helen Crocker interviews 3 generations of quilters and discusses many pattern variations, digitized from 2-inch quad videotape through a 2014-2015 internal WAQ library grant. Thank you to the grants. We love this stuff. Okay, so let's do it. Here we go. Let's do it. Oh, no. Here we go. Riveting already. I mean that. I'm not kidding. Can you hear it? Everything good?
Work which grows beautiful under one's own hands.
Cheers, everybody.
Is truly a pleasure. And what more so than the making of a piecework quilt? Glad memories are woven unaware in blending pieces of each favorite dress.
What if I just fell asleep?
And so the quilt is eloquent today with happiness that passes not away.
Oh, wow. It's a big lake. I feel like that was an SJ joke.
Western Kentucky University, through a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities.
And by the way, Kentucky and Tennessee were the first 2 states to do the quilt documentation projects. I've mentioned it before, but, you know, Kentucky quilts,
of the Kentucky Long Rifle,
big deal.
A handmade reproduction of a proud gunsmith. Of the traditional hand tools, such as the broadaxe used by the pioneers to hew and shape logs.
Anybody out there?
And the handmade piecework quilt, a labor of love by young and old. Traditional quilting in Kentucky. Here to tell us the quilting story is Helen.
Oh, sorry. Ellen. Sorry, Ellen's our host. What's going on?
The tradition of piecework quilting extends far back into Kentucky history and continues unbroken today. There's an element of revival in modern attitudes toward this old-fashioned work. Renewed interest has sprung up, and as a result, many want to try their hand at quilt making, or if not that, to at least own a handmade quilt. There are too few authentic quilt makers left for us to enjoy today, but fortunately, Kentucky quilt makers have traditionally passed on their knowledge and skill from generation to generation. The expressions of individuality continue to please the many admirers of good quilting. Just what has caused this renewed interest in the handmade quilt? Could it be that modern woman...
We know from being quilt nerds that in 1971... Oh, I can make a poll. Or a quiz. What was happening, right? 1971... There are too few of us, exactly. 1971 was the Whitney Museum of American Art big quilt show, right? Our friend Jonathan Holstein, who's often here in the show, watching the show with us. That big show, that was a big deal. And as the bicentennial was approaching, quilts got a lot of attention for that as well. And so there was a lot happening. So when they do this special, it's because there's interest in, quilt making in 1971, big time.
Woman wants to own something that's not only functional, but also satisfying and rich with association. Let's look into the art of quilt making for some answers. First, quilt is a very old word, tracing back through Old French to Latin, and ultimately probably to Sanskrit. Quilt basically means a cloth sandwich, so to speak. Layers of cloth with a filler in between, tied or stitched to keep the filler from balling up. We have many examples of quilted things. Quilted padding that knights wore under their armor, or quilted mattress covers, or quilted sleeping bags, quilted skirts, and quilted liners of clothing, just to name a few. We also know that in cold parts of China, a variety of quilted clothing is common. In one of Shakespeare's plays, Falstaff is called a quilt in a playful reference to his overstuffed appearance.
Wait a minute. Really? Falstaff is called a quilt? Mom, you're an English major. Did you know that? And remind me which play Falstaff is in? Oh dear. Hamlet? Interesting. I don't know. I'm making a poll, by the way. Hang on. Okay, I'm starting a poll. I hope it is okay. It plays over the video. Oh no, it won't play over the video. It'll be at the top of the chat. There's a poll. Let's take a poll as to whether or not the host of this show has made a quilt. I'd like to know. Anyway, the other Mary Kate. You're here. I'm so glad. Falstaff is in a few of the histories. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. He's not in Hamlet, but he's a comical character. I think he's Prince Hal's friend. Wow. Richard III, Saucy Stitcher. Richard II is my favorite. Anyway, okay, very good. But he's in quilts in Shakespeare. That's great.
The savage art of sewing small pieces together to make larger pieces
How now, Quilt?
seems a natural thing to do. How long ago did this begin? One researcher has pointed out that drawings and paintings show that even the ancient Egyptians used pieces of cloth sewn together for clothing. We can assume then that piecing or patching salvage cloth, along with quilting, came together long ago in the form of useful bed covers. But it's also important to note that an artistic expression accompanied the quilting tradition.
I do love her outfit. And I do want to say that it is okay to point out that bow around her neck is called a pussy bow. It is.
Sample. This beautiful handmade quilt
and I love it.
Could be found in any home where traditional furnishings are valued. Its design is one of the best known, the double wedding ring.
Thank you, Sue.
There was a time when a girl about to be married expected to have her hope chest filled with piecework or applique quilts. I remember an old poem from days gone by which went something like this.
Linda, you're here.
At your quilting maids, don't dally. Quilt quick if you would marry. A maid who's quiltless at 21 never shall greet her bridal son. Yep. And so, the quilt held its place of importance in the young person's life as well as the old.
Double wedding ring.
There are two basic steps in the making of a piecework quilt. First, thousands of tiny, colorful pieces are stitched together.
Oh, I love that. Look at that. Oh, it's just great. It's so 70s. I love those big florals. I love the weird green sashing, like the faded aqua sashing. I love it. And that is just a flying geese. Now, wait a minute. What is that block when you have... What is that block where there's two flying geese, in each quadrant? Does anybody remember? Thank you. Mary Kate, I love it. I think it's so great. The fabric is rad. See, Molly, I know. Everybody loves the fabric. Merry Wives of Windsor. Everybody is doing a very good job. Bib Palumbo. Hi, Bib.
Make the quilt top. Then the quilt top is joined to the filler and the backing to make the finished quilt. The making of a piecework quilt like this requires many hours of tedious, exacting labor with scissors, needle, and thread.
Sounds a little low sometimes.
Here's how it all begins.
So has she made a quilt? There's a poll going. Dutchman's puzzle.
The original puzzle was taken from an old wooden puzzle.
You got it.
The marking pattern was cut from pieces of thin cardboard in the shape of a triangle, a square, and a diamond. These were carefully laid on the material, and the pieces were cut out. Next, they were sewn together to make the block in the exact form of the original puzzle.
Exactly.
The blocks are stitched together in rows.
So wait a minute. Hold on. So Marianne Fons says tedious, exacting, labor, wrong. Agreed. So I think right now the poll that's going on, has the host of the show made a quilt? I feel like maybe not. The other Mary Kate says, okay, she messed up. The step outs don't match the finished sample. And that's for folks who have done quilt stuff on TV. You have to have step outs. So if you're doing a cooking show, it's like, okay, and then you put the turkey in the oven and we have one that's been cooked already. Let's show that. And so when you're doing a quilt program like Mary Kate has done and my mom has done and I have done, you have to have the step outs. So you have to have parts of the block and then the block in progress and then the finished block and then a bunch of finished blocks. And it's true, they haven't got it quite right. But I'd love to know when Georgia Bonesteel did her first show. If anybody has the inclination
as
to
quilt makers call them. And in the last step,
this is before that, surely.
The strings are joined together to make the completed quilt top.
Yeah, okay. Wide sashing.
From here, the quilt top is placed on the quilting frame, where it is joined with the filler and the backing. And finally, the edges are finished with bias strips. Later in the show, you will see the quilting frame in actual use.
I don't feel like it's her fault.
This puzzle quilt, like many others, is an elaborately improvised piecework quilt. You might wonder, just as I have.
And S.J. Pepper wonders in the chat. Yes, Castle Crips, it's a great. This show is fun. We really learn a lot. S.J. Pepper has a nerd question. When did the quilting craft stop calling fabric material? My mom always calls quilting cotton quilting material when I would call it fabric. That is a great question. I'm interested to see what people have to say.
What motivates a housewife to undertake such a project? Is it utility or frugality or artistic satisfaction? First, let's consider utility. This is Myra Bumpus of Bowling Green.
Myra, we have a namesake. That hairdo is notable.
Myra, could you tell us
wow. You got, that is real. That's a bouffant. If there ever was a bouffant.
Use all these quilts that you make.
Well, the first quilts I quilted for myself before I married to use on the bed. After I married, just for warmth. And a lot of them I fix to give for gifts, maybe at a wedding shower or something. You give someone a real pretty quilt to use.
Yes.
Or quilt them to sell to people that can't quilt or don't know how and would like to buy them. Or maybe quilt them for a bedspread to use to decorate a room to match the color or something like that.
What is it about that accent and this time in American history that just sounds about as sweet as I went to my friend Sophie's pie party today. I had some lemon cream pie. As sweet as lemon cream pie on a hot summer day. Like Loretta Lynn, talking about daddy and all my brothers and sisters, and we just had to sing songs when we were tired and hungry, and we just got through it that way, and it was just family, and that was all that mattered. And so I'm gonna sing this song now for my daddy. That kind of thing. Or I make quilts for all those folks that can't make them themselves. Now I'm going to sing this song about my daddy. You know what I'm saying?
What is this pattern that you're making now?
This is the Dresden Plate. It'll be used on an applique quilt. Fasten it down the raw edges like I'm doing now and applique it to possibly a white sheet or a piece of bleached domestic and used as a bedspread.
What do you intend to do with it when you're finished?
Well, I might sell it, and with all the time...
What does she have around her neck? Is that a necklace, or is that like a seam ripper tool, or some kind of some sort of weapon? But really, it doesn't seem like it was 71. This is a 1971 film. Jewelry was getting a little weird. She is cute. She's adorable. A microphone. Oh my God, it's a microphone. Are you serious? It's a microphone. Wow. I really missed that one. Oh my God, it's a microphone.
time and trouble I'm putting in it, I might keep it.
Do you have a set price for a quilt like that?
Good job.
Well, one like this would run pretty high, I guess, because there's a lot of finger work on it. There's a lot of time put in on it. But one that you would do maybe pieces on the sewing machine or something like that, where it doesn't take as much time, or a simple pattern, you'd sell quite a bit cheaper.
My mom is funny
Do
tonight.
you do an applique quilt like this on the quilting frame?
Well, you would have to quilt it on a quilting frame. You can applique the pieces to the white material on a sewing machine, or you can do it on your fingers either way. I guess.
Applique on a sewing machine in 1971. I gotta tell you, I wouldn't have guessed that. That's a quilt nerd deep cut, you know, were people doing applique on sewing machines before? I mean, because I think of like raw edge applique or applique on a sewing machine as being a pretty recent thing, but obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's interesting. Bunny Kane says, when I lived in Virginia, some people talked like that. It was cool. By the end of the year, I was talking like that. I still say y'all, and it's been almost 40 years. You know what I like about y'all? I don't like calling a group of women you guys. It's not like I'm like language policing, like whatever, everything's a crack up, like it's all good, you know. But when I was a waitress too, it was like, hey you guys, like, how's it going? You know, I'd like greet a table of women and I would say like, hi you guys, how are you? It's not right. So y'all is like completely like inclusive. It is.
Most likely Quilting Hood would be the best place to applique these to the piece of material.
We'll talk to you about that some more later. Now I wonder if...
Gamer Granny, I'm just going to let that one lay. By the way, 71% of you do not believe that the woman who's hosting the show has made a quilt. Good job on the poll. Very good.
If you could explain to us why you choose one pattern over another.
Well, if I have quite a bit of material in large pieces, I'd pick a larger design so I don't waste as much of the material and use the smaller pieces that's left over then for a real small design. And usually just start out using the larger pieces with the large design, and then go on down and use it to the next design that would take the next pieces and use the most of the material on down to the smallest ones.
According to our guest, she's partly governed in her choice of pattern by utility or practical considerations. What she has on hand or what she has left over from other sewing projects. But while she thinks of quilts as useful, a look at her work tells us that her appreciation goes far beyond keeping warm. She's very artistic as she works with her material. Notice how the creative urge seems to blend in closely with utility and frugality.
I love her outfit.
It's sometimes difficult to separate the three. This will become more obvious throughout the program as we look at other quilts. Here is what is sometimes known as a crazy quilt or a patchwork quilt. This kind, though still popular, reaches far back to the origins of the craft. It is unique because of the more or less random piecing together of scraps or salvage to make a piece large enough to be useful. This type of quilt, utilizing scraps of fine satin, silk, or velvet, found its way into some old-time parlors and sitting rooms as throws for settee or couch. Every patchwork quilt has its own life story.
But wait.
Here's a particularly...
But wait. When she says old time and stuff, I mean, the crazy quilt as such, this is a Victorian American. I mean, I don't know how many crazy quilts were popular in England. I mean, I'm sure, in the UK, but I'm sure that they were popular. But I mean, the Victorian, like 1880s, whenever you think about crazy quilts, think about like, Victorian era, like 1880s-ish, and they were nuts about them. But like old time, I mean, that is, I don't know. By the way, 10% of you do think that the host has made a quilt. So I see you, and you're
the interesting one, as told by Mrs. Virginia Pearson of Bowling Green.
This is a beautiful example of patchwork quilt.
It is.
And is in remarkable state of preservation.
It's great.
It's almost 100 years old, but because the pieces are made almost entirely from wool chalet, it has lasted well. Each piece in the quilt is different from the other, and they are put together with a feather stitch, many variations of the feather stitch. You can see several examples of that here. There are some that look like clover, some like bird's feet, and some like small leaves.
That's great.
And in each piece is an embroidered representation of something that Mrs. Miller saw about her here in rural Kentucky. In this piece, we have a...
What is she using? Is that a pen?
Pansy, which is in an outline stitch. And in this piece, we have a cherry tree, which is developed in crewel embroidery. And over here, there is an owl, which is outline stitch again, and in great detail. And then here we have a rabbit, which is embroidered in many colors.
Love it.
Is in an outline stitch. And then in the center of the quilt,
a stylist. Mom, it's not a stylist.
Which is made of velveteen.
Maybe it
This
is.
horse belonged to Mrs. Miller's husband.
That's nice.
The horse's name was Chester Dare. And we're told that hair from the tail of this horse was sent to New Orleans in order that a perfect match for color could be obtained in the material that would be used for the horse.
Didn't the horse that won the Kentucky Derby this year was like literally the last, the least likely to win? I heard that, right? Didn't I hear that?
As is in the case of most patchwork quilts, the maker leaves her name on the quilt somewhere.
Wait, I'm sorry, what did you say? No.
Material that would be used for the horse. As is in the case of most patchwork quilts, the maker leaves her name on the quilt somewhere.
Wrong.
And here we have Mrs. Miller's name on this piece. And since Mrs. Miller lived to
80
be
to
only
1.
26
Wow,
years
Gamer
old,
Granny.
we see depicted
Amazing.
Here most of her life
Highest
on
odds,
the
Mother
pieces of
Nature.
this quilt.
Wow.
Modern Kentucky quilters still make old-fashioned comforts of heavy woolens and crazy patch all-over designs. But they more often use cotton fabrics for string quilts.
Okay.
These scraps of material are sewn together onto a paper backing into the size and shape wanted, usually a
Wow, was that a bra ad?
square.
Okay, let's continue.
The fabrics are then trimmed, and the paper backing is torn away.
Bip, I wish I would have bet on that horse too. I mean, yeah, some people made a lot of dough. Exactly.
Here's a finished string quilt called the spiderweb.
Lily, I think you're right.
Most quilts use the basic one-patch design.
Wrong. I mean,
No folds will be made in the starting piece of material.
look at
The
that
entire
fabric.
quilt could be pieced whole without forming individual blocks. This around-the-world design is a one-patch which very
Trip around the world. I'm being a jerk. It's
clearly
fine.
demonstrates this. Going a step further, if we take a square of material and fold it diagonally, we get a two-patch block. A very simple pattern would result. We get a step further, a one-patch which...
Let me try this. This is going to be really funny. This is a trick I picked up watching another live streamer. Are you ready for this? Okay, you ready? Okay. Let's hear that. Let's hear that again, host lady.
It clearly demonstrates this. Going a step further, if we take a square of material and fold it diagonally, we get a two-patch block.
I mean, what? I thought I had to slow it down, just to hear. What does that mean? If we fold it diagonally, we get
A very simple pattern would result from alternating, contrasting triangles in each block.
No, it's true. Now I feel bad. I mean, I don't know. That listening to anybody in slow motion, listen. It always sounds funny. Anyone who's watching the replay, please feel free to watch this in slow motion. I mean, play me in slow motion and everybody sounds a little bit silly, but anyway, okay.
Most quilters make their pattern even more complicated, as in this flower basket design.
Yeah.
Among the most popular basic patterns are the 4-patch and the 9-patch. The 4-patch is made by first dividing a square of material into 4 patches. You could then subdivide
It was really funny how she was just like, this is complicated. Moving on.
it into smaller parts. as long as the pieces continue to make the same size squares or blocks. This windmill is a simple type of four-patch. Jacob's ladder, a more complicated four-patch design, is a popular pattern with Kentucky
that's cool. Mm-hmm.
42 of these blocks are sewn together.
42.
In an individual block, we see 12 pieces.
It's really amazing that pattern is just 4 patches and half square triangles. It's cool. I think it looks like a cheese grater when it's all together.
Small squares and half squares, which the maker sewed together in alternate colors
Mouse.
to make the design stand out.
Oh, Mouse.
Alternating pieces give enough contrast to form a pattern in a block. So arranging the blocks to fit together properly gives the overall patterned effect. We see this in this example known as the snake trail. This pattern, like the double wedding ring, makes use of many small pieces set together with larger pieces of...
Put a 1 in the chat if you've made a double wedding ring. Mom, have you made a double wedding ring? I would like to know. If you're still here, I'd like to know. Put a 1 in the chat if you've made a double wedding ring quilt. Put a 2 in the chat if you have not.
Contrasting solid color.
I know what I can put in.
A very popular 9 patch is the quilt top little girls of 8 or 9
Chinese
used to do
handcuffs.
as their first piece top. It can be almost infinitely varied. If the maker wishes to divide some of the 9 pieces into smaller pieces, many creative designs can be accomplished.
I don't think a lot of people have done double wedding rings. I don't. We love them, but
of chain squares.
Who has? Bonnie did.
This
Bonnie
quilt
Kane
sometimes
did.
is called Road to California and is of the Irish chain family. By now you've noticed that many quilt patterns have names which have been passed down from generation to generation. Here to tell us about it is Joanne Schickel of Western Kentucky University's Department of Home Economics.
Great. Oh, I have to tell you this.
The cultural heritage of a quilter is often reflected in her choice of design and pattern name. By tradition, Kentucky quilters make a great distinction between the log cabin pattern and sunshine and shade.
Oh, sunshine
Both
and
patterns are made from
shade.
the same basic.
I kind of like that. Usually we hear sunshine and shadow, right? I like sunshine and shade. That's great. Yeah, I mean, down in Kentucky, you want some shade?
Plan of stripping together narrow rectangles of various colored fabric around a small central square to form a quilt block.
Kitty, yep.
Other quilters, however, have a different conception of the tulip pattern. Some prefer the piece design. Others prefer to applique a tulip to a quilted backing.
Wow.
There's something very personal and individual about a woman's choice of favorite design.
Yes,
Some women
agreed.
prefer to use a bold color combination, such
Women or men? Anybody who's making a quilt? I mean, we got guys in the chat.
as this one, of red, lavender.
Wow. Now, I wonder what she'll call it. To me, that's postage stamp. That's intense. That's a big quilt too.
Green and blues. Other women prefer to use
You
a
can tell it's
great
big.
deal of light colored fabric in each quilt.
What
One
about-
woman
that's
has
right.
made a number of red, white, and blue quilts, her tribute to a husband and 6 sons who fought in American wars.
Wow, look at that quilt. OMG. That is a quilt church moment. Wow, and the story behind it too. That's really interesting. That's a new one for me. Pemberito says, I might start working on an English paper piece double wedding ring. My partner and I joke we may get married 25 years from now. So it's enough time to work on it for a future wedding. Girl? Or I mean, I don't know. Pemberito, I think you are a female person. But sometimes I don't know. I don't know who you people are. That's great. If you start it now, when you get married in 25 years, you'll have it. That's very cool
The
quilt.
persistence of certain design motifs, such as stars, flowers,
Wait a minute. Lillian, you caught it. The bed's blocking the door. That's pretty creepy.
of certain design
They had to do it for photography, probably.
motifs, such as stars, flowers, fans, and circles.
Oh, love it. I love it so much. I love it. I love everything about it. Oh my God, I have to hide the chat. Hang on. It's movie night, people. That's what we're doing tonight. We're watching movies. And, hold on, I gotta hide the chat. You have to see the corner of this. I love this. Look at it. And you know what? Oh, this is just the kind of quilt we love around here. The weird, keep quilts weird. # keep quilts weird. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, I got to take a screenshot. Anybody who's watching, take a screenshot, you know? If you love something, anytime you love something, just take a screenshot, you know, of this. And if you're on an Apple, it's, you know, Command-Shift-3. Command-Shift-3 will take a picture of your screen. If you're on a Microsoft or a Windows, I'm not sure, but this is great. And look how she's got, she or he, okay. Oh, Ukraine, that's right. Oh my gosh, it's a great quilt for Ukraine. It's so true. It's so true. And look, they had 2 extra pieces. And they put them in the, oh, I gotta, look, I'll disappear too. No, here, look. Look at that. It's so, like, it's so cool. It's just got something about it, doesn't it? With all that white. I mean, come on. Let me tell you something. I won't tell if you don't tell. If one of you wants to make this quilt and submit it to QuiltCon next year or any cool quilt show, come on. It's fabulous. It's fabulous. It's so weird. It's so original. It's so perfect. I love it. It's a quilt church moment if there ever was one. Isn't it great? Ugh. And it is 1000% a Ukraine quilt. By the way, Charles said that quilt in front of the door was a scene from our horror movie, The Quilt Maker. One of these days, we're going to have a focused show on The Quilt Maker, and we're going to actually discuss the script. We're going to talk about strategy. We're going to make our move to get a horror movie starring a quilt maker. Murderous. Horrid little Spitfire. Command-Shift-4. Command-Shift-4 is the way to take a screenshot. It's so bad. Quack Command-Shift-5 on a Mac for me. Oh no. Okay, yeah. It could be something else, but if you, figure out how to do a screenshot on your computer, and it'll really be great for this show for you. Tangy Taste. I'm so glad you're here. It does look like canned pineapple. That's exactly what it looks like. Now, Tangy Taste, I'm going to put a welcome basket in the chat for you because you must have been here before because I don't see that it was your first time chatting. But I may have not seen you in a while, and I'm really glad you're here. Put a welcome basket in the chat for Tangy Taste if you can, because we're really glad you're here. Okay, 3 worked for you. Okay, great, MC John. Okay, let's continue. Okay.
Taste the patchwork
and don't forget to subscribe
in the Kentucky region.
if you haven't yet. It's a good thing to do.
Is this friendship knot or starry crown? By now you've guessed that many quilters have given the same names to different quilt patterns.
Everybody loves you, Tangy Taste.
Is this Solomon's puzzle or Wonder of the World?
Interesting.
Or merely a slight variation of Drunkard's Path or Robbing Peter to Pay Paul? It's no wonder
that is not robbing Peter. I'm
sorry,
sorry, that's not robbing Peter to pay Paul. No, who thinks that's robbing Peter to pay Paul? I mean, she obviously knows enough to say things, but
it's no wonder the pioneers gave biblical names to so many of their quilts, since religion played such an important part in their everyday lives. Kentucky quilts have symbolic meaning also. One quilter in Morgantown, Kentucky, named this general design, I Wish You Well.
Oh,
a related design is called Churn Dasher.
Yep.
This is a churn dasher,
an
object well known in every rural Kentucky household. Note the resemblance between the cross pieces of wood at the end of the dasher and the crooked cross in the quilt square. We know this design as a swastika, one of the oldest known in art. It is a sign for good luck and prosperity.
Down. That's right.
Despite the negative connotations given this design in recent history, its ancient meaning persists in the quilt, I Wish You Well.
Isn't it crazy that World War II was 30 years, just 3 short decades back from this moment? Oh, time is very strange. I don't know.
I've shown you just a few of the variety of quilts that are made in Kentucky. There's no limitation to the choice of design or pattern.
Quilty Mouse, yes.
All the quilt patterns that we have shown you today are currently known and used by Kentucky quilters, though some are quite common and others are rare.
Just how much of this is creative art and how much is simply copy?
That sounded like a challenge. Just how much of this can we really call creative? Anyway.
Being certain designs over and over again. Traditional formulas govern the basic patterns, and these formulas in turn are governed by the availability of the materials and limitations of the technique. With that in mind, we can state in principle, in many primitive and folk arts, the limitations of materials and tools impose certain limitations.
Sorry, that word
on
primitive,
design.
we don't like it.
All this does not mean that it is impossible to make quilts with pictorial art on them. One can cut out any shape and sew it to a backing, as we see in this fine example of applique quilting. It has possibilities of novelty, personalization, and pictorial art.
Interesting.
Once again, let's refer back to those three motivations: utility, frugality, and art.
Oh, okay.
The utility we are well aware of. Let's talk about frugality a little more.
I can't look at it right
We've
now.
already spoken of piecing in terms of salvaging odds and ends, scraps of leftover material from dressmaking and other kinds of sewing.
Waste not, want not.
Remember, the people in a pioneer or frontier setting did not have ready access to cloth.
Okay, she didn't say colonial. She gets this for not
To
doing
waste
that.
it, even small scraps, was something of a sin. Perhaps this is why quilting, though an art older than the United States, took on new life and became something of a domestic and social institution on this side of the Atlantic. In fact, the quilting bee ranked with barn raising and log rolling as a social event. Now you might wonder, how was the art transmitted through the years? And how were the patterns passed along?
Sure. No.
Both tended to be on a person-to-person basis, mother to daughter,
What if I held my hands
and
like
neighbor
this?
to neighbor. One learned
On every
piecework
show.
ordinarily from a relative or friend, not from a book. For a modern-day example of handing down the art, let's visit with Mrs. Arizona Martin, a resident of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Mrs. Martin is at the quilting frame with her granddaughter, Myra, and Myra's daughter, Sandra Jean. Mrs. Martin's daughter, Myra.
That was amazing.
And Myra's daughter, Sandra Jean.
We love her. You are approved. Sorry.
Is at
Sorry,
the
one more
quilting
time.
frame with her granddaughter, Myra, and Myra's daughter, Sandra Jean.
Is she putting... What is she doing? Maybe she's licking the thread. Sandra Jean, we love you. SJ, I'm so glad you're seeing this. I'm so glad you're here because we do love her. You know what? This is a good time for a screenshot. There you go.
Mrs. Martin's daughter, Pat, who could not be with us today, makes 4 generations of quilt
Interesting.
makers in one family.
Wait a minute. They scheduled the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, and the granddaughter, and one of them didn't show up. Story.
Mrs. Martin, how did you get started quilting?
Started quilting by my mother working, and I cried and begged her to let me piece a quilt, and she cut
Molly.
me a pattern, and I just went to cut my pieces and pieced a 9-patch quilt first. And as I
Brave.
grew older, well, she furnished the material, and I helped quilt my quilt. And after I got married, I used my quilt and wore it out.
Use my quilt and wore it
I'm
out.
78 years old, and I've been working in the quilt business all this while.
Quilt business.
What is the reach on this quilting frame?
About 8 or 10 inches reach, so that it would, you can make your stitches better. You can see how you're sewing, and a long reach, you couldn't make the stitches.
Show us about how far that would be.
She interrupted. Excuse me.
Just about 10 inches.
From the edge in, about 10 inches.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait a minute. What are they saying? I'm sorry. I don't want to be cheeky. I want to understand what they're saying. This is where we actually learn something. Hang on. I mean about quilt making, because I don't do tutorials on this show. So let me just go back.
And a long reach, you couldn't make.
Okay,
you could
hold
make
on.
About 8.
Here.
What is the reach on this quilting frame?
About 8 or 10 inches reach.
The reach on this quilting frame. So how far she can reach with her stitches before they have to re-roll it? Is that what they're saying? Raffle Waffle. Hi, Raffle Waffle.
so that it would, you can make the stitches better. You can see how you're sewing, and a long reach, you couldn't make the stitches.
Show us about how far that would be.
Just about 10 inches.
From the edge in, about 10 inches.
Yes, ma'am.
How is this put together?
Okay.
Would you show us the lining and the padding?
Oh, I love
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
It's so good to see you.
I have my lining, and then I put my cotton in, and then I put my top over, and we pin it in all together, and then put it in the frames, and then we go to quilting.
When you were a younger woman, where did you get your cotton?
Sunshine and shade.
I raised my cotton myself, and after I moved to Bowling Green, you see, I just threw my old cotton away. I had lots of old cotton, and it was be something to show now. And I had my card to pick my cotton.
Scotty,
my husband made me a
welcome.
little cotton chin and chin my seed out, and then I'd take my cards and.
That's a champagne cork for you, Scotty. I'm really glad you're here. We have a very good time. But I want to go back to this woman who said she cotton ginned her own cotton before she...
And it was be something to show now. And I had my card to pick my cotton. My husband made me a little cotton chin and chin my seed out. And then I'd take my cards and bat my cotton and have it ready to inlay like this between the lining and the cotton. And it quilted so much easier. The quilts are so much fluffier and all.
Wow.
When you stitch, do you follow a pattern?
Well, I just, the piece by the quilt by the piece, I follow that, and if not, I won't make pattern, just make up anything I want to and quilt it.
Okay, look, first of all, if your husband or partner has not made you your own homemade cotton gin, does that person really love you? Second of all, I'd say it all the time. I mean, like, regional styles in quilting, it's true, it happens. But people make quilts and they do their own thing. What did she just say? Like, I just kind of feel my way around, you know, I kind of put it together. I just kind of decide what I want to do as I'm making it, you know? Quilters in Alabama say this, quilters in West Virginia say this, quilters in Kentucky say this, you know? It's like, these are creative people, man. I'm just saying. Bonnie says, I bet her hair goes down to her waist when she takes it down. Love it. Making eyes at my boyfriend sitting next to me on the couch. Oh, Mouse, you know what? Get it, girl. Christmas is coming. If your hubby or your partner, your dude, your old man, if he starts now, he could figure out how to make a cotton gin by December. I'm just saying.
Pretty. Try to make it prettier. Diamonds or squares or just any way we want to. Bias lines or straight lines and fix it that way.
I'm sure
Mara,
you
could you tell us another way to do this besides using the quilting frame?
Yes, ma'am. We use what's called a quilting hood, and it's you put your quilt together like you do in the frames, and you transfer it to this hook, and you quilt the space inside, and you move the hook to a different part of the quilt, and go ahead and quilt that and move it over until you get the quilt completely done.
The hair though. I don't know what she's holding up. Is that wool? The bar has been set. I'll say the bar has been set, Pim. Just blocked her daughter. Lillian, she did. She just blocked her daughter. The spawn of S.J. Pepper. Sorry. Watch this. This is great. Lily, you're so right. Okay, wait.
We use what's called a quilting hook, and it's you put your quilt together like you do in the frames, and you transfer it to this hook, and you quilt the space inside, and you move the hook to a different part of the quilt.
The little kid's like, I want to be on TV. The mother's like, no, you were making faces and putting needles in your nose. She was too.
And go ahead and quilt that and move it over until you get the quilt completely done.
It takes more time to move so often.
Yes, it takes quite a bit more time to do it in the quilting hooks, but if it's one person, it's a whole lot easier. You can hold this in your lap, and if you don't have a whole lot of room, this is the easiest way to do it too, because you can't set quilting frames up just anywhere. You have to have enough room, and this way it's a lot easier for one person anyway.
How do you get all of these different kinds of materials for your quilt?
Well,
look, Sandra Jean. Did you hear Sandra Jean? She's talking. Look, she was upset. She talked about it. Watch, listen. Listen.
How do you get all of these different kinds of materials for your quilt?
Well, I sew for myself and for my daughter, and I save the material that's left over. My family sews. A lot of my family sew, and they save the leftover material. Then we buy material from the Derby Underwear Company.
What? The Derby Underwear Company. I'm not making fun. I'm being. This is Saturday night movie night. But did you hear that? The Derby Underwear Company.
It's you buy most of our solid colors that we use to set them together and everything with comes from
Molly.
the Derby.
Molly, do
Does
it.
this blue in the pattern come from that company?
Yes, you buy it by the bundle, and it's 5 pounds of material is $1, and you get different designs, and you can get printed fabrics as well as solids, and we use a lot of that. We buy a lot of
Catherine,
This is far
Carl,
less expensive than...
Carl, I'm so glad you joined. It's movie night at Quilt Nerd, but make sure to come back on non-movie night. Maybe every night should be movie night. There's not that many quilt documentaries, but if there are, I can find them. I guarantee. We love the little girl, Sandra Jean. When we first started this movie, when the first scene that opened upon Sandra Jean, she was like, ugh, like sticking a needle up her nose. So she's definitely approved. But yeah, no. So they're getting material from an underwear company, and didn't she say it was 5 pounds for $1 or something? She needs money for hairspray, so she has to cut back, with the material cost.
Buying material.
Oh yes, you get, I'd say 20 yards of material in a bundle, and that's $1. And 20 yards of material uptown is quite expensive.
Wow.
Most quilters do make use of readily available material. For a very striking example of frugality, look at this rather plain design. Its maker calls it a brick quilt. The pieces are that size and...
Look how thin that material is. It looks like linen or something, but I don't know.
Shape, because a 5-cent sack of tobacco is that size and shape.
Excuse me?
This rather plain design. Its maker called it a brick quilt. The pieces are that size and shape because a 5-cent sack of tobacco is that size and shape.
Lucky strike. It's toasted.
When empty, it's a potentially useful quilt piece. If the children don't get it for marbles, or if grandmother doesn't get it for buttons, the quilt maker can rip out the seams and accumulate enough pieces to sew into a quilt top.
Wow.
How is that for frugality? Now, let's consider the last motive, art. It is in our time the prime motive. For even in the most frugal households, the artistic element of quilt making is not overlooked.
That's right, Grover.
The people who can't go all the way and make the quilts can own them. And with the ownership comes a so...
My mom says, Daddy's used it for chew. It's chaw. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that's a lot of money for tobacco. It is. Can you imagine just... anyone mentioning tobacco in any context, in any way today... in a normalized way. On television, it's crazy.
Association with a rich legacy.
There's 3 more minutes left of this. You've done very well. It's been great. I love it.
There is a revival in the art of quilting.
There is.
As we've tried to show during our program, the one great secret of quilting, which charms from generation to generation, is the pleasure gained from the piecing and the quilting.
Some things never change, y'all.
It's a story of patience and skill, housewifely pride, woman's love for pretty things, and of fingers trained to do such work.
Wow.
We are both beneficiaries and victims of what we like to call progress.
Excuse me? Oh, wow.
We are both beneficiaries and victims of what we like to call progress. Probably no one would actually turn the clock back if he had to take all the consequences. Yet...
This got real deep. It got real deep. I'm sorry.
And of fingers trained to do such work. We are both beneficiaries and victims of what we like to call progress.
Agreed.
Probably no one would actually turn the clock back if he had to take all the consequences.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yet, the clatter of the machine and the quality-controlled uniformity of mass products are about as poetic as a telephone book.
Hell yeah, girl. Okay. You may not have ever made a quilt, Ms. Helen Crocker, but I like your style.
Well, the unique quilting of an individual artist speaks to us like the language of poetry.
Oh, God, I'm writing that down. That was so awesome. I'm writing that down. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Love the ending graphic. Love it. We're going to take a quick break. The second video I have for you is 18 minutes.
Life is like a piecework quilt.
Whoa.
And each little piece is a day. Some pieces are rosy, happy, and bright, and some are dark and gray. But each little piece sits fitted in and sewn to keep it together, makes a finished block in this life of ours, filled with sun and with rainy weather. So, let me work on life's piecework quilt.
Wow.
Through the rainy days and the sun, trusting that when I have finished my block, the master may say, well done.
Last 2
this
minutes.
This program was produced by Western Kentucky University through a grant
minutes.
supplied by the National Endowment for the Humanities.
This is very creative, with the Kentucky shape cut out of the quilt. I'm into it. Totally approved. Okay. I mean, I don't want to finish it out, There's that Jacob's Ladder. Great. I love this program. I thought it was really good. I hope you liked it. I saw a lot of quilt church in the chat. So, Susan says, I don't like Chuck the set designer. Color of the walls, not great. Very hilarious. Very funny. You're all very funny. Susan, you come out of nowhere sometimes on these sassy comments. You want a Helen Crocker poster, Saucy Stitcher? MC John wouldn't have missed this for the world. Same. Date. Okay, so 1971 is the year. I don't know the date of the actual date, but 1971. So it is a neat special effect. I loved everything about it. The Humanities do it again, Myra. You know who's going to love that is my mom. The Humanities do it again, indeed. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and I am going to, if I can, I'm going to write down that thing that woman said, Helen Crocker. The poem is great. We'll figure out where it comes from. But Helen Crocker with her whole thing about, like mass-produced stuff being as poetic as a telephone book. Okay, so I'm gonna write that down. But right now, I'm gonna try. I think I can do it while we're on break. But I'm gonna run to the ladies' room and put on my Helen Crocker outfit, and we'll be right back for an 18-minute video. That one was 30 minutes, so you can gauge, how long we're gonna be here. Okay, you guys are amazing. You're so much fun. I love hanging out with you. I'll be right back. like it looks like I'm in a donut or something. A donut from like, I don't know, 1980, which is the film that we're going to watch next is from 1980, and it looks like I'm in some kind of horrible 1980 donut. Let's do this instead. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I didn't have time to write down the thing from the lady. I don't know. Because we gotta get back. We gotta get back to the show. We have a film to watch from 1980. It's a quilt film, obviously. Welcome to Quilt Nerd if this is your first time here. Yeah, we talk about quilts. We just watched an amazing film, piece of cinema, from Kentucky in 1971 about quilts. It was amazing. We learned a lot. We laughed. We cried. We saw some hair. And some quilts that were great. So now, hey, wait a minute. Oh, the first quilting lady is Myra Combe Hicks. Per this. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay. You said Hicks in your comment, Pen Burrito. So you're the auto mod told you that you can say that. But I know what you're saying. You're saying the name of one of our quilt nerds, whose last name is Hicks. Whatever. That was a perfect opening for the show tonight. Oh, I'm so glad you liked it. Yeah, well, exactly. The opening quilt, you mean? Yeah, exactly. Our love goes out to people in New York, okay? So we're gonna do this. So before I show you this film, we have to talk about Joyce Weiland. I gotta get small. Help, I'm small. So this is Joyce Weiland. Okay, so I mentioned earlier today I did a presentation for the Canadian Quilters Guild Association. It was great. We had a great time. I loved it. And I mentioned Joyce Weiland because I like to tailor all my guild presentations at least a little bit to my audience, you know? So I spoke to an Australian guild a couple weeks ago, shared some Australian quilts, including the Hannaford wedding quilt. Remember that Australian quilt a few weeks ago? Anyway. And so today I spoke to Canadian quilt makers and I shared this book. I talked a little bit about it. 300 Years of Canada's Quilts, Mary Conroy. Interesting. And, you know, I talked about why we should care about Canadian quilts, and of course we should. And so it is a great portrait. So this is Joyce Weiland. I mentioned her because she's so fabulous. She was this artist and she made quilts. And I mean, she did film and she did all kinds of amazing things, including film and multimedia. And she was a painter. And remember, I discovered Joyce Weiland, who was she was a huge figure in art in the 1960s and 70s, like a major contemporary art figure, okay, outside of Canada, like period. She was living in New York, whatever. So you remember when we did the show on vintage postcards? I found all these amazing vintage quilt themed or quilt related postcards, and we were just going through them. Well, this was one of the postcards that I found on this like vintage postcard clearinghouse website. And I loved it, and it turned out to be Joyce Weiland. And this is called Barren Ground Caribou. And Molly, some of you knew the station. Oh, it's not Medina. What was it? Oh, I forget what it was. Anyway, I said it wrong, and then someone else said it correctly. This is in a subway station in Canada. And Spadina. That was what it was. It wasn't Medina, it was Spadina. Did I say it right? I believe so. Oh, Kitty Hannah Estelle is still here. She's never leaving. She's still here. So this is Joyce Weiland. And then, actually, I believe, was it Sohani? Who said, so this is a Joyce Weiland quilt, and it's Film Mundala, 1966. And I said Mandala, and I believe it was Sohani who said, it's pronounced Mundala, so I pronounced it Mundala. Anyway, so this is Joyce Weiland, and she's amazing. And one of the points I made to the Canadian Quilt Guild, and the reason I'm saying this is because Joyce Weiland makes an appearance in the next film, in the final film we're going to watch tonight together. It's a film from 1980, and Joyce Weiland makes an appearance. And I didn't know that I was even going to play that film for you all tonight. It's totally weird that this is happening. But one of the points I made to the audience today is that I found Joyce Weiland's quilts not through any quilt industry channel or quilt guild. I did not find Joyce Weiland's quilts because they were featured in a magazine. I did not find them because I went to a guild talk. I'm the only person I know who's giving guild talks that include Joyce Weiland. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying like it's rare to find quilt content, right? Like this. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, through, the normal channels. So what I love about this show is the opportunity to find this stuff and share it with you. And if you find other places where people are really digging deep into quilt culture, I want you to tell me. I would love to be a part of that community too. And if you have friends, right, who you think would like to know about this stuff, I hope you'll tell them about the show. Exciting things are happening. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm doing 2 shows a week, Tuesday night at 7 p.m., Saturday night at 8 p.m., and every other Friday we do Quilters Newsletter Friday, where we just read an issue of Quilters Newsletter together. So next week is going to be different. I'll talk about that before the end of the show. I'll tell you about next week's schedule. Yeah, let's watch the film. It's short. I won't stop it at all. That won't happen. That's the weird thing. No. Okay, let's go over here. And great. And where are we with the thing? Hold on now. Hold on. Everybody calm down. Nothing. Everything's fine. Where is my thing? Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay, that's fine. I can get it this way. Oh, here. Great. Love it. Can you see that? I think so. Can you see that scary, scary thing? All right. So let's do it. So this is called Patterns of Love. Quilting Doc with Joyce Weiland. That's right. 1980, 16 millimeter. Okay. And it was uploaded on the 2019. And this is about Canadian quilt makers. I haven't watched it all. I just went to the part that features Joyce Weiland talking about quilts. It's crazy. This is a quilt church moment. Court quilts, I agree. I would love to see more quilt. Whoa. I would love to see more quilt art in commission for public spaces. Well, I mean, how does that stuff happen? How does it happen? Like, could we nominate people? Could we, it's like, that would be amazing to have a quilt public art like that. It has to be behind glass, of course, but like, do you know anybody who's making quilt murals? Do you know anybody who could? By the way, I just want to tell you that somebody from our quilt nerd community, I won't say who because I don't want to, share things that I don't have permission to share, but somebody from our quilt nerd community has taken up the challenge to do a research project. And it's not me and Molly. We've got our own thing. But someone from the Quilt Nerd community is going to do a research project, and they have joined the American Quilt Study Group, AQSG, and they are doing a seriously cool research project. And they asked me about it the other day, and I was sharing them whatever I could to help them with their research project. And so if you want to do public art, with quilts in it, go for it. We are the doers. We are the makers. We can get stuff done. We can. And so if you want to do a research project, and by the way, if you want to join AQSG, American Quilt Study Group, they've never done a coupon code before, but you can get $15 off your year-long membership. So instead of $75, it's $60 for a membership to AQSG. They are the first quilt nerds, and they're even nerdier than us. That's right. But you can't write papers for Quilt Nerd yet. You know what I'm saying? Peer-reviewed papers yet. But one day, maybe we will. But for now, if you want to do a serious research project, you can do it through AQSG. So you should become a member. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I mean, are they cool? Okay. But are they awesome? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, AQSG, for saying that you're not cool, but I mean, come on. We're awesome. It's awesome. It's amazing. What is cool, I mean, I think we're cool.
In towns throughout North America, the annual fair brings an excitement that is unequaled. Families come from miles around to show off the best of the year's work.
Of course we're cool. AQSG, Quilt Nerd, of course.
The arts and crafts display usually includes an exhibit of quilts.
Not everybody in AQSG wears leather jackets. I wear one, but not everybody does yet. It's a new day. It's an avant-garde. we go. We have a quilt.
It was the grand champion quilt in the fair, and I was fortunate enough to win that.
Yes, Quirk.
Honor.
Yes.
I felt as though I hated to part with it because I felt it was something special.
Kitty Hannah, yes.
It doesn't matter to me if I come last. It's just the satisfaction of entering in the fair, or, you know, somebody else seeing my work and I'm looking at somebody else's, somebody else wins, that's fine.
I've been making quilts all my life. First
Quilty
of all,
mouse,
for the children when they were small, if anything I could get a hold of. And then later on, I started making them just for pickup work or exhibiting.
Oh.
Human beings have always felt the need to create beauty in everyday life.
True. Ooh, look at that. Now that's a kit quilt. I know that quilt. That's called Iris. God, I need to get out more. But that is called Iris. It's a kit quilt. I'll find it. Okay.
No way.
I think it's Mountain Mist. I'll look.
Is this more evident than in the dazzling colors and intricate patterns of the quilt? These warm bed coverings are at once practical and beautiful, useful works of art, labors of love. The judge looks for overall design and pattern in quilting, the materials chosen, general workmanship, and the evenness and quality of stitching.
Quilt police, but
And
it's
here
okay.
again, we have a little problem with the edges rolling. It doesn't lie as a complete. You see, as she's put her binding on there, she's had a little problem with that.
Oh, has she? Has she?
Are very well done.
She has some problems with that.
Although
Hang on. Did you see this? I won't. We don't have to go all the way back, but I want to show you. Watch. Look what you can do when you watch Quilt Nerd. Hang on. Yeah. Here. You see that? Look at that. Okay, you ready? Hang on. Hold on. This is going to be great. This is going to be worth it. It's worth it. Yep. That's right. It's going to be worth it. You ready for this? Hold on. You're going to be happy that I did this. Look at that. Hold on. You see that? God. No, here, look, right there. That, you see? That's the quilt we just saw. That's a Mountain Mist pattern. It's called Iris. Robin's Nest, you noticed. The gloves are, they're taking their gloves off. The judges, they've taken their gloves off. But look at this quilt. See, it's very distinctive. It's very specific. And then now we're back to this. We see, look at that. Maybe they did a little interpretation, but that's totally that quilt. Okay, thank you. I needed
nowhere
it.
is this more evident than in the dazzling colors and intricate patterns of the quilt. These warm bed coverings are at once practical and beautiful, useful works of art,
Okay, I did go
labors of love. A judge looks for overall design and pattern in quilting, the materials chosen, general workmanship, and the evenness and quality of stitching.
And there again, we have a little problem with the edges rolling. It doesn't lie as a complete. You see, as she's put
Sunbonnet Sue.
her binding on there, she's had a little problem with that. The circles are very well done.
Oh, interesting. Look at those prairie points. That's a very interesting border.
Although 8 to 10 stitches is the average, some quilters can boast 16 stitches to the inch.
Oof.
Mrs. Margaret Carr has been making quilts for over 40 years.
I find trouble in deciding on a pattern to do my quilting. You should do something on the bowl and around the foot and, of course, the flower and the stem and the leaves.
Polyester, I know, Mary
Here
Kate, right?
you would do it around the arm. I first started quilting in the mid-30s when I taught school up in Halliburton
Oh,
County.
look at, wow.
I usually did the blocks when I was away from home. I couldn't set up a big quilt in someone else's home. I did that when I came home during the summer.
Court quilts, I have had a quilt with prairie points on the edge, and it is sort of annoying when you pull a quilt up to your chin and it has those points. I mean, it's kind of fun, but then it's annoying.
Or some of them maybe carried over till I had a home of my own. I think this might have been the first pattern that I ever made back in the 30s when I started.
Wow.
It was relaxing and interesting work to do on the long winter nights.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Cloth was rare and expensive in pioneer North America, and the long winter season provided the time for women to stitch together pieces of old clothing to make quilt covers. Using the intricate colors and patterns of nature, the patchwork quilt was born.
So far tonight, well, that's trippy. So far tonight, no one has said colonial days. No one has said in these films, which honestly, we know, I mean, it happens a lot, where people are like, those who came on the Mayflower brought their quilts with them and taught the people that, no. Colonial people, Mayflower people didn't make quilts. So far, they've been saying pioneers and stuff, which is like completely legit. Wow. Oh, wow. This is very artistic. Wow. Yeah, whoa. Great.
The study of quilts is a full-time occupation for publisher Mary Conroy.
Hold on. Listen to this.
The study of quilts is a full-time occupation for
Quilt Nerds
publisher Mary Conroy.
Quilting in Canada came with the immigrants from the European countries, mainly the British Isles. First of all, of course, from France, and each of them brought with them something unique.
I have to do my Spotify playlist for you guys. Okay.
The British brought techniques of patchwork. The German quilters tended to quilt on whole cloth, and they had very elaborate and traditional designs. The second great wave of immigration came by land, and these were the people from the United States who had decided not to live under a republic. And they brought with them very unique skills in quilt making. It was very much part of their tradition that the patchwork quilt had become, at this point in time, symbols of their folk ways. A quilt on a bed symbolizes to
She's wearing what she believes in.
a great many people some of the most significant times in their lives. If you think about it, most of the important events in our lives happen in bed. We're born in bed, we get married, and we usually die in bed.
This is great.
And the settlers who first colonized Canada left everything except their bedstead.
Wow. This is very good.
Quilting has lasted more than 70 years for Mrs. Annie Mae Johnston.
I make quilts, and I attribute that to no rheumatism in the bones. And those hands are busy all the time. 1909 was my first quilt, and all down through the years, I have made so many quilts.
I have an affiliate link.
Especially when the war was on. I didn't work hard at quilts at that time. They used to have down here in the hall, the ladies would be cutting out things to send to the boys, and the clippings would be put in a box and sent up to me at the farm, and I would make quilts up there with the sewing machine and send them down here, and they would quilt them to send overseas.
Oh, wow.
I've been making them ever since, and I love quilts just as much, much more than I did at the 1909.
This is an interesting quilt because it's not only embroidered with the place where the quilt was made, but it also has the date on it, 1899, the height of the craze for Victorian patchwork.
See?
Crazy quilts were really show quilts.
So far, I have to say, really, this little piece of media so far is the most accurate in my understanding. I don't know everything. Oh God. But in my understanding, like so far, the Canadians, nice, very nice. Show quilts. It's true. Crazy quilts were show quilts.
They were made to display the lady of the house's virtuosity with her needle. In fact, you were considered to be a very poor needlewoman if you couldn't put at least 100 different stitches on your crazy patchwork quilt.
Really?
In the 60s, the artistry that has always been present in quilts began to be recognized. They started to appear in art galleries.
Oh my God. Wait a minute. Did you hear what that person said? Someone finally said it was the 60s and not the 70s. When like art quilting and like, I've never heard it in my life. And now we get to Joyce Weiland, by the way. Hold on, I have to hear it again. It's just very satisfying. Everybody always says it was the 70s, always 70s, but it wasn't, it was before that.
In the 60s, the artistry that has always been present in quilts began to be recognized. They started to appear in art galleries, museums, and shops. One collector who turned her fascination with quilts into a business is Gloria Rosenberg.
Rather nice in execution.
We saw that before, but that's okay. Oh, wow.
Here from Ontario.
Wow.
The first Saturday that I was open, I came home and my husband asked me what kind of a day I had. And I told him it was simply a terrible day. He said, what was the matter? And I said,
I feel a punchline coming.
well, you know, someone came in and bought a quilt. And he says, well, honey, you're in business. And I just burst into tears. I really found it very difficult to sell quilts that I have lived with and that I love. But I'm over that now. And I really...
I'm on Vicodin now, and I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Really, I like it when someone nice buys a nice quilt.
That's awesome.
Quilts have also been a means of expressing beliefs. In the 19th century, American women included black...
Sorry, we are getting to Joyce Weiland, I promise. It's right around here.
...patches in their quilts to protest slavery. Today, artist Joyce Weiland uses quilts to convey her social concerns.
Yes, Mary Kate. Yes. Oh, Joyce Weiland. Okay, here.
I felt that the quilt was a good platform for politics. The circular quilt called Arctic Day, probably the most important piece because it's unusual and different to the other quilts because it has drawings on it. They're animals, birds, and insects of the Arctic.
I have a picture of it. I'll show you in a minute.
I think the water quilt is successful. It's a quilt that essentially looks very innocent. It's 64 little pillows that I have embroidered upon them Arctic flowers. When the flap is lifted up...
We looked at this on Quilt Nerd.
There's a text about a group in Washington and the government who decided to make a plan to reroute the major water...
That's Joyce Weiland, you guys.
...ways of the Canadian Arctic south to the United States. I thought that it would be a great way to show this kind of insidious plot underneath these little flaps.
When quilting began to seriously decline in Canada, just around the end of the 20s, in the early 30s, Lady Tweedsmuir was the wife of the Governor General of Canada at that time, and she could see that there was a lessening in the quality of work being done. And so she had commissioned some good work.
I'll put the water quilt behind me for the closing of the show after we're done, because you'll remember it. It's wonderful.
And women could see what good quilting was, and they could work towards it. And it's this group of people who have really kept alive the art of quilting.
Traditionally, women's institutes and churches raise money by quilting.
All our mothers quilted here years and years ago. Grace Hamilton and Olive Kittle and I came over 40 years ago. We've been quilting.
We practically started when we were teenagers.
Debbie here is a new member, and she's doing very well because she likes the work. And she liked it so well when she started here that she's got a quilt just about made.
Wow, look at that. That's amazing. Look at that quilt. It's wonderful. Isn't it wonderful? Olive Kibble. Is that what she said? Did she say Olive Kibble? Is that woman's name? Is it Olive Kibble? And actually, let's pour one out for Olive Kibble. Is that really? Padma. Oh, Padma. Yeah, exactly. It's a great memory.
Selling for what? $25? Grace and I pieced very...
SJ, a lessening in the quality is the subtitle of my memoir. S.J. Pepper's... The life of S.J. Pepper, a lessening in the quality.
They're brown and tan quilt years ago. We cut the patches. The lady provided all the materials. We put it together. We brought it here and quilted it and charged the lady $8.
Some people, when there's an important occasion, either in the national life or their own life, might write a poem about it. Someone else might write a song. But many people make a quilt.
Good.
The Canadian Centennial brought about a quilting renaissance, sparked by the use of quilts in the restoration of pioneer homes.
A whole generation of women had skipped the learning of quilting from their mother because these women were involved in wartime work, and they just
it's true
plain never learned to do it, so they had to be taught by someone. And
love it, pictorial, love it.
This is when they began to involve themselves in guilds.
Still predominantly a rural craft, quilting is becoming increasingly popular in cities.
Very mid-century Canada. Love this house. Are those National Geographics? What do you think? On the shelf, that yellow spine? I think so. I would guess. We had them in our house in 1980.
Enthusiastic newcomers gather in groups such as the Etobicoke Quilters Guild, founded in 1975 by Sandy Small.
Wow.
I wanted people to be able to get together and exchange patterns, exchange ideas for quilts, and just general stimulation to carry on with their quilting after they finish my lessons.
Look at that,
templates. And that's how the Etobicoke Quilters Guild came into being.
Oof.
I think the interest in quilting has stemmed in a great part because I think people like to think that they can go back to their roots, the natural way of...
Oh, I love this. What is this? Wait. Is that French? Is it what is that? What does that say? I'd rather quilt than cook. I'd rather quilt than cook. Screenshot. I'd rather quilt than cook. Are you seeing that? Are you getting that? Susan got it. That's great. You know what? Exactly. That's great. You know what you could do? You can make that quilt. You can make that quilt in it'd be so fun. Do a little needle turned applique. Cut out your letters. Or take letters, just type it up on a Word document. And enlarge the letters as big as you want them to be, and then just make it, and then put your little fun shapes down at the bottom. It's so great. And it's a wall hanging. You can hang it in your house. You can hang it in your kitchen, not over the stove. It would get gross. But I'd rather quilt than cook. It's adorable. And look at the way the A is. I can't really zoom in when I am playing a video, but that's really cool. I'd rather quilt than go to the post office. Exactly. It could be a whole series. I'd rather quilt than... I like vacuuming, but you know what I'm saying. It's great. And what's the grapes? I'd rather quilt than...
There's natural health foods. People are getting back into natural fibers for sewing. I was an oil painter, just a Sunday oil painter.
Interesting.
Before I got into quilting.
Interesting.
And I find I have both types of work on the go, traditional and also the wall hangings, which I really enjoy doing. I wanted to make a farm quilt, and I've put the animals around the outside and the path going up to the farmhouse and the barn. My son wanted me to put a tractor in. That was his contribution. So I didn't want anything too busy in the background. Therefore, I just put the straight lines in. The path, if you'll notice, has a cobbled effect. And around the duck, it's outlined with waves and so on. I didn't want anything to take away from the actual pattern itself. I think quilting's here to stay, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see what we'll leave.
Wow, that was interesting. The clamshells and the blocks? Wow.
Combining innovative methods and ideas.
Look at that. Very cool. So creative.
Large quilts bring warmth and texture to modern office buildings. One artist who specializes in wall hangings for public places is Lori Swim.
I don't make bed quilts, I make wall hangings with fabric, which happen to be quilted to give it a dimension. This one was designed for a competition.
Oh, look at that. It's in a hoop. It's not in a hoop, but it's a circular shape. Lori Swim? Polybat alert, exactly. Pastrami tacos. Hey, pastrami tacos.
In Nova Scotia. They asked us to submit designs for particular areas.
This one I chose to do because I thought it would be good for a waiting area.
She's so
Quilting
good.
as a textile art has begun to attract the attention of men,
Who make sad things?
such as John Willard.
I got started in quilting by amassing a collection of antique quilts over a period of about 6 years. And when I had this collection together, I began wondering what it must be like to make one. The Broken Star quilt is the first quilt I ever did, I ever finished. The first one I've actually started, I still haven't finished yet. I basically designed my own. And I thought I'd do a commemorative quilt of the sinking of the Titanic.
Wow.
It was the 65th anniversary that year, I think, in 1977.
Wow.
It's a subject that's fascinated me ever since I was a child.
Look at that. That's really interesting. Wow. Wow.
I don't think anybody can get through doing a quilt without pricking their finger at least once. And every time I do it, which I do on every quilt, I always squeeze a little bit of blood out and rub it somewhere on the inside on the batting. So every one of my quilts has got my blood in it.
Tonight's show is my favorite show ever. I'm not kidding.
I always ask the children if they have any quilts, and many of them do. One day I went a little further and said to
We need that chair.
One little boy, well, who made your quilt? And he said, my grandma did.
And then make
What
her.
does it mean to you? I asked him. And he looked at me and smiled and said, it means my grandma loves me.
Oh.
I was 12 years old. I saw a quilt my grandmother made. She was 4 years old when she made it. I felt, oh my God,
I just spilled something.
You know, I gotta make something now. So I just started
I'm
putting
here.
together.
I'm just, hang on.
My aunt, she'd done quilts too, and so she helped me with the first few.
At 4-H, we had about 7 meetings, and they started us off gradually with something little and showed us how to do all the stitches and everything. And then we had to make something of our own, whatever we wanted.
Exhibits and competitions have always played a part in the quilting tradition. Quilts are entered first in local fairs. Winners then advance to district competitions. The best go on to the finals, where judges face the difficult task of selecting the grand champion. The current widespread interest in quilting suggests that this folk art will continue to be a colorful part of our culture.
I'm here.
I decided to exhibit my quilts at the fair because I put a lot of work on them, made them really nice. Well, this is just the beginning. Isn't that pretty? And when you look at a quilt 72 by 90, it looks like a big job for one person. But sooner or later you'll get it finished if you stick to it.
It's true. It's still true.
Beautiful, isn't it?
I spilled wine on Barbara Bracken's book.
Oh, you can't even see the stitches.
No, beautiful. The sizes of them.
Let's flip it over here so you can see.
Did you see any spots that were missed in quilting? No.
Oh, these are the judges.
Covered it, isn't she?
They're so judgy.
8 to 11 stitches to the inch. Sure is. Yeah, sure is. Have to make a decision here, girls.
Yes, we sure do.
Between these two now.
As I move back to the white tablecloth that's covering the quilt, I'd like you to announce the winner.
I would like to say, in the first place, district number 4 is involved.
So are you in agreement that this is first? I agree. Yes, I agree too.
The fair that is involved is Bob Cajun, and the winner is Mrs. Margaret Carr.
Hello!
Congratulations, Mrs. Carr.
That's extra applause supplied by Quilt Nerd.
Come on up, Mrs. Carr.
Look at her, she's so happy. Oh, okay. Oh, she's so happy. Can you imagine if you won first place? Has anybody won first place at a show? So here's the thing too. Okay, so the largest quilt shop in Oklahoma is in Hennessy. Really? And this is where they are? So, okay, she's just wonderful. So, okay, let's finish her moment and then I'll tell you something funny. Okay.
Mrs. Carr from Bob Cajun, Ontario.
Everyone's like, I hate her, but She did a great job. Okay, bye.
We are just delighted to be able to add your quilt to the collection which you see behind you, and we trust that it's a big win for you also.
Oh, grand champion. There it is. Canada Packers. Very artistic. Okay, so my sister, is this okay? So I'll change his first name to protect the innocent. But my friend, so okay. So that was the show. That was the movie. I'm going to do this here. I'm going to open this, and I'm going to put Joyce Weiland's wonderful water quilt behind me as I close out the show. So hang on. Here we go. I got this right there. So my sister told me about she was doing an improv class, okay? And she was in class with this young guy, and his name was Michael Winget. And when the teacher would tell him that he did a good job in the improv scene, she would say, she would tell him good job, and then he would do this thing where with his mouth, which you'll probably recognize as, something that people do. He would go like this. Hang on. He'd be like this. She'd be like, good job, Michael. And he'd be like, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So we started, Rebecca coined the term the Winget. So, if somebody's like, you won that quilt show, your quilt is amazing. Or even if you didn't win a quilt show, like, that's amazing. You're so talented. We love your quilts. You're so good. And you can be like, or you won't even try. You'll just be like, thanks. Yeah. It's all in the chin. It's the, that's the Winget. So it's been... Okay, so we should do more movie nights. Listen, Lillian, I'm with you. And I do have, thanks to Ivana, who sent me several DVDs, I do have more quilt films. And so we should totally do it. We have to do it. Movie night was super fun. And I agree with you. And also, to anybody who's new tonight, thank you so much for coming. I do love movie night. Yeah, we could watch non-quilt movies. There's a lot of those. There's so many movies and documentaries that aren't about quilts. But if you come across one, if you're on YouTube and you find some really random thing, let me know, send it to me. Send me a DM or Prairie Susie, you subscribed with Prime and you've been subscribed for 3 months. I appreciate you. If anybody else subscribed tonight or did a gift sub, I don't think so. I think I would have seen it. But I really, really appreciate the subscriptions. It's very encouraging to me. We're going to do a giveaway when we get to 200 subs. I was going to do it. We're kind of getting there, but I think we're going to get there. We're definitely going to get there. And as we get a little bit closer to that goal, I will talk about the giveaway. When we get to like 175, I'm going to start talking about that giveaway and pushing forward. We're going to keep it pushing. But if you like this show, please tell somebody about it. That is the best way to grow our community. And the reason I want to grow it is not because I think, Quilt Nerd is going to be, it is going to be an empire. But right now, I just want to meet more of you. Honestly, there's more of you out there, and I want to meet you, and you want to meet them. So share it with you. And if you have a guild, if you're part of a guild, I'd never promoted myself as a speaker to guilds because, people ask me to do it and it's great and I love it so much. I love doing it, but I've never promoted myself. But I will say that if you are part of a guild or if you talk to a friend who's part of a guild, I bring it. I bring it to those quilt gigs, those guild gigs. And it's a great way for me to talk about the show too. So, that's it. That's all. That's what we got. You did a great job. Oh, and the last thing, this is it, is that next week, I got to take the music out for this. This is important. I don't know what my hair is doing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. So here's the deal. So next week, I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. I go on Tuesday, okay? It's possible that I'll do a stream on Tuesday midday. I miss my UK friends. I mean, popping it on them is like, I don't know, but I really don't want to miss a Tuesday show, but it could be earlier in the day. We'll see. I mean, we'll see, okay? But hear this, and I'll put this in the Discord tomorrow. But next week in Lincoln, Nebraska, at the International Quilt Museum, okay? Pem loved it. Yes, wasn't it fun? Oh, Jan, I'm so glad you liked it. Me too. SJ Pepper, I love you. Oh, good. Oh, wonderful, Myra. That's fantastic. Michelle Van Scrappy, you just missed a show. Michelle, you've got to watch this show. This episode, very fun. We just watched movies like the whole time. I'm really glad you dropped in, though. Even if you can't see the show, everybody, I love it when you come and say hi. That's so cool. It's like completely okay if you can't stay. I just love it when you say hi. So thanks, Michelle. So the International Quilt Museum, this is from the press release, is celebrating its 25th anniversary on May 20th through 21st. So that's Friday and Saturday next week, okay? The celebration opens with a keynote address by Penny McMorris, former advisor. Oh, we can watch her old show. We'll do it. Former advisor to Robert and Artis James, and that's the two people who started the Quilt Museum. So here's the thing, and I'll put it on the schedule. I'll put it in the Twitch schedule on the channel schedule page. So Friday, a week from yesterday, I'm going to broadcast on this channel Penny McMorris's keynote address at 5 p.m. Central. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll put it on the channel schedule page, and I'll put it in the Discord. Another reason to subscribe if you're not subscribed, because you get access to all of that. But so 5 p.m. on Friday, I'm going to live stream it. I have permission to do it. It's an open event, open to the public. If you're around, you should come to the actual event in Lincoln, Nebraska. It'd be amazing. We can hang out. For real, I'll buy you, I don't know, a glass of wine and a car. No, I'm just kidding. Then on Saturday, panel discussions all day. I'll be at every single one of them at 9 a.m. Central. History panel with Patricia Cruz, who used to run the entire program at Lincoln, Ann Dillow Crowley, as in the Sarah Dillow collection of quilts, daughter, Ann Dillow Crowley, and Mary Kay Waldvogel. You know her. 10:30 a.m. Founding artist panel with Pauline Burbage. I can't. She's a hero. She's a hero of mine. She's a hero. I cannot even. Oh my God, Elle Riggs. Yes, Elle Riggs. Does anyone want to have dinner? Thank you for subscribing. Do you want to, at tier 2? That's right. You're a tier 2 subscriber. Does anyone want to have dinner meet up on Thursday or Friday in Lincoln? Elle Riggs is going to get there around 4:30 on Thursday. You love the films. Quack Quack Cat loved the films. Everybody loves the films. Movie night was incredible. Okay, I am getting the message. I am going to do more movie nights. I loved it too. It was really fun. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anybody who wants to tell me that movie night is great, I love to hear it. It's clear that a lot of people loved it. I think you don't have to tell me, because I'm trying to say that I love the feedback. It's really good. And I'm seeing that. That's awesome. Okay, so then at 10:30 a.m. Oh, sorry. And then at 1:30 p.m. there's another panel. So there's 3 panels on Saturday, a week from today. 9 a.m., 10:30 a.m., and then 1:30 p.m. international panel with Christine Martins, Patricia Stoddard, and Martha Wallace. Oh, they are all amazing. Mrs. Stoddard is unbelievable. So here's the thing. All of those events are free. If you're around and can make the trip to Lincoln, be safe, mask up, do your thing, be careful, be wise. But, come on over. I'll be there. You know who else is going to be there? I just have to tell you. Get ready for Are you ready for this? I'm sure my mom has gone to bed. Marianne Fons, Barbara Brackman, Penny McMorris, Pauline Burbage, Carolyn Maslumi, Michael James, Rod Kirikoff, Jonathan Holstein, Mary Kay Waldvogel, Victoria Finley Wolf, surely, because she's on the board. Tara Miller. I mean, like I'm worried about COVID too, you know. I've been weighing my risks, pretty much everything I do. Well, yeah, everything I do. And I mean, I'm vaxxed, I'm boosted, I'm gonna wear a mask, I'm gonna be careful. I gotta go. I'm gonna go. And there's gonna be a lot of really cool people there. And even if you can't go or you're not comfortable going, whatever, 2 things. Number 1, stay close. I'm going to put on my Instagram and I'm going to put on the Twitch channel and in the Discord when things are happening. And I'm also going to encourage you to subscribe or at least follow this channel so that you know when I go live, okay? Work with me. Be cool, be flexible, because I'm there for a board meeting, but you're going to be with me, okay? And tune in and subscribe, because then we can talk about things in the Discord, and it's going to be a blast. It's a nerd fest, raffle waffle. It's a nerd fest. It's exactly what it is. Tempting, very tempting. Mary Kate, if you, listen, if you can make it, you should make it. Meg Cox is going to be there. And you know what? Tuesday night, let's have dinner. Will you keep videos up? Yes, I will keep videos up, Mother Nature. I will keep videos up on my Twitch channel. So if you miss it, you can watch it on twitch.tv/YoMaryFons. Pass on some flyers if they let you. Oh my God, Padma, that's a great idea. Will I have the gumption? Thanks, Patty Okra. Great show, even watching on an iPhone. I'm so glad you tuned in. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back. Threadist. Oh, listen, we could do a quilt nerd get together. Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. If you, seriously, this is it. But it's exciting, right? If you are thinking of going to Lincoln, because we did like a QuiltCon channel. I feel like I don't know if it's going to be a lot of people. I mean, I don't know. But if you're thinking of going to Lincoln, what I'd like you to do is message me on the Discord, okay? And if there's 3 or 4 people, then I'll do a channel, for the Lincoln thing, and then we can coordinate together. Because with QuiltCon, that was really helpful on the Discord, because we could use that thread, right? We could use that little thread to discuss, and we didn't lose messages in the lobby channel and all of that. So DM me. I'm going to be on the Discord tomorrow doing stuff. So we'll figure that out. But we could go and hang out, it'd be amazing. And I'll live stream. Remember from QuiltCon, I live streamed from the show and there were a bunch of quilt nerds there. It was super fun. So next week it's a crack up of the best kind. So stay tuned. I will be as good as I can about communicating where I'll be and when I'll be there. Yeah. And the live stream too is going to be, a stationary camera when like Penny McMorris is speaking. So it won't be like me moving around. I hope to have a really good internet connection. I do my best, but it'll be really fun to be there. And if I have the gumption to like live stream like from the gala party, I totally have to do it. I got to do it. I have a really great dress. I think I might be overdressed, but I might wear it anyway. Okay, everybody. An events channel. Oh, that's a great idea. And yes, Threadist, I will be there Tuesday through Saturday night. I leave on Sunday. There's one more thing. First of all, Penny Catherine, I wanted to say thank you for reminding me that even though we had fun tonight, we need to like give big ups and like praise to those quilters who came before. If you're still there, I wrote down your name, Penny, because I really liked what you had to say. We have our fun around here, but it's all very, very serious in terms of respect, right? The other thing is, this is it. I've got to tell you, because it's on Sunday and I won't remember. I'm sure I won't remember. Here. So look at this. I got to get small. There's one more thing. If you're still here, you're going to be glad you were here. Look at this. Okay. Main scene. Okay. I got small. So I found this by accident, you guys. So on Sunday, this is the American Folk Art Museum website. On Sunday, May 22nd, online, Okay, I think it's in person too, but online. The 2022 Elizabeth and Irwin Warren Folk Art Symposium. Objects of Inquiry, New Perspectives on American Folk Art, okay? Oh, Myra, you did it! Ah, that's so cool! I love it, I love it, I love it! Woohoo! We love you, Myra. Okay, so on Sunday, okay, so they're gonna talk about, so you can sign up online. Look, to sign up, please click here. There's more like, talks and stuff happening that you can tune into from your home. One of the things that they're going to talk about at this symposium is quilts. And Janneken Smucker, who's like the foremost, hang on, I'm going to get to the right point and then slow down. She is like the foremost expert right now on Amish quilts. 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m., okay, at the American Museum of Folk Art, online, Janneken Smucker is going to do a talk, and her talk is called High Style Folk Art and New Deal Values, Quilts in the Index of American Design, and that's Janneken Smucker. She might come to the Quilt Museum. I don't know. PhD professor of history at Westchester University. So you can register for this, and you can attend that. I'm gonna tune into that. So you go to the American Folk Art Museum website. I forget, just Google American Folk Art Museum, and then you just register. Look, you just registered the 2022 Elizabeth and Irwin Warren Folk Art Symposium, and you register. It's free. So that's on Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, because they're in New York. So all quilts all weekend, El Riggs. All quilts all weekend. So that's exciting. So you know what I can do? I can put this link in the chat. Why don't I give you the link to the event? Okay, and then that's right here. So join me on this channel for stuff from Lincoln. Also, the last thing, I know people are dipping out because it's the end of the show and it's late. We went late tonight. Stay tuned, and because I really kind of want to do a midday. Anyway, I don't want to promise anything. I want to under promise and over deliver, not the other way around. So that's it. So stay tuned and let anybody know who wasn't at the show tonight that there's going to be a lot of fun stuff happening in the next week. The schedule will be weird, but it'll be great and special. It only happens, once every 25 years that there's a 25-year celebration. So, whew. Okay, everybody, movie night was awesome. I ate no popcorn. I only ate chips. That's the way we do it. Okay, bye, everybody. Be safe, please. Okay, love you. Bye. Keep quilts weird, girl. Okay, bye.